Hello. Hi. Welcome to this thing that we call
Hello there.
Nerd Pod. Hello there. I was being serious, by the way. If we ever end up creating an LLC, it's going to be called Hello There Productions because that's a cool name.
I think it's pretty cool.
Let me pull up the same document that I should have had already pulled up.
You came in here unprepared. They're gonna know you're alive. I already know.
Kyle already knows that I'm constantly ill-prepared. Anyways, yeah. What's been going on? How was your week?
It was good. It was good. Just working and hitting the gym, playing some video games. That's nothing too exciting that I can recall popped up. But,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of just a boring week, but that's not really a bad thing.
Yeah. I mean, hey, like an easy week is a good week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything crazy like happen at work? Was there any like insane situations you had to deal with? I mean, you didn't go out of town this week, luckily.
I mean, at this point, it's
It is what it is.
every day something. Every day, like it's not like something crazy happens every day, but it's just something that could have been easily prevented logistically.
Yeah.
And that it's frustrating. And did have a long talk with some people, and hopefully things get better with that. So, we'll see.
And that's that.
Yeah, and then and news kind of related to that. I'm actually finally switching my license over to where I live. So that'll be interesting. Because like my thing was like it expires in August, and I was like, why would I switch it if I don't have to? Because the DMV here is atrociously slow.
It's a freaking pain in the ass, I recall.
Well, it's to the point where like a lot of people will have their expired temporary tags on their car, and cops won't even bother because they know how slow the DMV is, and it's like okay.
I think I had to take off 2 straight days just to do mine whenever I was still up there. The first time, like I went there and I waited all day because they didn't have any appointments. Like they wouldn't let you make an appointment for almost a week in advance. So they said, "Oh, if you get here right whenever we open, then you get like that whole early access, or you get to draw a number thing." And then I waited all day and they didn't see me. And then the second time I was able to actually make an appointment, but still, it fucking sucked.
So I scheduled mine last night. Filled out all their paperwork online. So hopefully I'm just able to go in, exchange license, take a picture, get out, and go on about my day.
Yeah.
But I highly doubt that's what's going to happen.
Never does. Never does it?
No.
I think.
But what have you been up to this week, though?
Not a whole lot. Just obviously been still kind of applying for a few different jobs. And then I've also just been able to kind of dedicate some solid time into doing some of the stuff that obviously we wanted to do here with like the stream and what we wanted to do with like the podcast. Yeah. So I've still been kind of like busy.
I feel like you've been like every day sending me kind of stuff like, do you like this? Is this all good?
Yeah.
Like, most of the time I'm like a little picky bitch, and I'm like, that's fucking stupid, but no.
I know. I think I said that on Facebook, where I was like, you can tell we're back in pod season because I inundate Kyle with like 17 different messages that he has to catch up on like all at once.
Well, there's like times at work where I'm looking and I can feel my phone going off, and I'm like, I can't look at it right now, but I will when. Just a lot of that, like, well, even yesterday it was like an easy job, so I was able to actually text you about stuff.
Yeah.
But
it's definitely weird. I mean, like outside of that, I haven't really done a whole lot. I mean, obviously tonight we're going to be doing our gaming stream, our first one of that, so that'll be really fun.
Hell yeah! And what game are you playing?
Fucking Baldur's Gate 3, my dude.
Oh, hell yeah, brother!
We've got a pretty good crew, too. I'm pretty excited for it. I really haven't been able to like play with like Blazik or Jazz or anybody
saw
for
the guys in it.
Yeah, Damon, too. This is my first time actually able to play with Damon, so...
Yeah, I only play actual D&D with Damon, so that's a little different.
Yeah,
that'll be cool, though. I hope it works out and goes smoothly.
I hope it will, too. We'll see how long... Or we'll see if my computer crashes or anything like that. Hopefully it doesn't, but with my luck, it might.
I'm just surprised that game can even run on a Mac.
Surprisingly very well too. It's pretty shocking actually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I tried messing around with the stream the other night. I tried also doing like a recording just to see like if that just like crashes my CPU by like trying to run all of that at once. But it did pretty okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like today I'm getting like weird issues with my camera and stuff, which honestly I think is just because I'm using the MacBook camera. I need to stop being lazy and actually go back and set up my whole camera setting that I had a few episodes last season. But outside of that, it's doing okay.
Do you have a fan going or anything like that?
That's probably my computer fan. I'm gonna turn down the gain of my microphone.
Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna move this a little bit closer to my face hole. Can you still pick it up a lot? Like, is it still pretty loud?
It's better now. Yeah, but for a second there, it was like every time you spoke, it was just shh.
Yeah.
But I think it's okay now. I don't hear it.
I will say that that's probably my biggest complaint about MacBooks is that they try so hard not to have like any sort of fan. Excuse me, sorry. They try so hard to have like this silent computer that what ends up happening is they thermo throttle your device like crazy bad. And so if I don't have my like fans constantly running, it does slow down pretty badly just because the computer can get up to like 200 fucking degrees. It's pretty crazy. But anyways, yes. Nice. Sorry. outside of that, not really anything going on. I am looking forward to tonight doing the gaming session, and then my best friend, I'm going to go hang out with my friend Austin, and so that's going to be really, really fun. We're just going to kind of hang out and watch a bunch of Star Wars stuff. He wants me to show him all my favorite Star Wars stuff, which...
Oh, that'll take a while.
It'll take a while, but also I don't know if he's ready for like how fucking nerdy I can get over this type of shit.
Yeah. It's like, have you listened to the pod, my dude?
Yeah. Like it's so funny that you sent me that.
He thinks Grey Jedi are real.
What'd you say?
I was like, he thinks Grey Jedi are real. So.
Well, it's just hilarious that you sent me that last night because I was thinking about that. I was like, God, I'm gonna like scare Austin away. Like he's gonna be like, man, this kid did nothing except talk about Ahsoka.
Well, freaking Jeremy sent me that template because like Walton Goggins is just everywhere right now. And I was just like, that is perfect. I have to use it. Like, go outside, nerd. All right.
I think what is that from? Is that from like the show Righteous Gemstones? Is that what it's?
It's yeah.
Okay, yeah. I thought I recognized it. That show was really hilarious, and it's I need to probably watch it again, given especially all the drama that I'm dealing with my old like church and school, because it is like it's just highly satirical and hilarious in that regard. But it was pretty cool. Like I don't know. I just love that show. I love that actor. I just think it's really cool that like that's actually getting memed out now. You know, there's another show that I really wish you would watch called Veep. It's super, super funny. I mean, I know it's like political, but it's just so stupid and funny. It's kind of like Parks and Rec, but like a lot more like mature, a lot more like vulgar, of course, because it's on HBO.
I've heard of it,
but it's really funny. Have you been playing any fun little video games, Vigi games? Have you gotten into Fallout 4 now that that's out on next gen?
So yeah, I re-downloaded Fallout 4 and got the update on the 25th and played it for like an hour or two. So half an hour of that was just creating the characters,
as always.
Yep. But like the PS5 upgrade, it like got rid of all my mods, but when I loaded it up, most of my mods are like aesthetic things anyway. And it looked really good. It ran great for me. So
did they do a remaster? Like, is it fully like upgraded graphics and everything?
Yeah, it's I think it's 4K at 60 FPS or 30 FPS where whatever you choose to run based on performance mode or quality mode. But it looks great. And then I was playing and our 8-year-old was just like, "Why are you listening to music while shooting people?" And I was like, that's the game. Because it's just the Diamond City radio or whatever going on while you're just fighting all these raiders and stuff. It's like,
I watched a few
I've been playing Fallout 4.
I definitely want to get a copy, especially because it supposedly runs really well.
Dude, it's fun. Oh, and it's only I don't know if it's on sale anymore, but for the initial week when the show came out, all the games were only $5 everywhere.
I think Fallout. I think
that ended.
Still.
Yeah. Okay. I think it might have ended because like it was like on sale to the 25th, and then the upgrade came out the next day for free. So I don't know.
I think I can correct myself, or I'll cut this part out once we actually have the VOD. But I think it's still on sale until May 10th, or maybe that's maybe that's Manor Lords that I'm thinking of. I might be thinking of Manor Lords because that's what I played a little bit this morning.
All right, and then
yeah,
like other gaming stuff. Jeremy and I actually have like a online connected like franchise mode in the Madden football game.
Oh yeah.
And we've been doing that, and he like actually like kicked my ass so bad every game, to the point where I'm like, dude, just show me like how to play this a little bit. And we went over it and over and over it for hours.
Yeah.
And like now I'm actually like sort of decent, because like a lot of the times I'll play the games on the easiest mode, and like I don't want to be stressed out when playing, and I've just been having a hard time.
Yeah. See, that's kind of the way I am. Like, as much as I do really like having a challenge, like I kind of almost prefer, maybe whenever I go through my first playthrough, if I just do it by myself, like I almost kind of prefer having that story mode just to give you like a
always do story mode
wide
first,
berth,
yeah.
right? Because I noticed that especially like with Jedi Survivor, I think you and I talked about that a little bit, where I felt like I was trying so hard just to get through the content, just to be able to like get to the point of being able to talk about it, that I felt like I just kept losing out on a lot of stuff. And one of the things that I really liked about Fallen Order was that there was so much time, got annoying after a while, having to travel back, but there was so much time exploring and so much time dedicated just to being able to just look around at the really gorgeous worlds that, like, I don't know, I think I take that for granted a lot. That's what I've been trying to do, especially with my second playthrough of Baldur's Gate, my like, cleric run. But
yeah, just kind of look around and see how beautiful that game is. I do it like all the time. I'll just go to the top of the hill and like, they did really good. This looks great.
This is nice soup.
And then get attacked by a goblin and whatever. So.
But outside of Fallout, anything else? Just kind of.
Just really just Madden or the.
Or the Madden one as well, yeah.
So it's not called FIFA anymore.
Oh.
But the soccer game, they changed it to just FC, so football club.
Okay.
But I've been like that. I've been playing that too, and it's actually like really well thought out. Completely different from how Madden operates, even though they're made by both made by EA Sports.
Same team, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just completely different. Like, and then and I don't know how much you even follow soccer, but like there's different leagues all over the world, and they present it on TV differently with different commentators, and they put that like in the game
that's really
too.
Cool.
So just been pretty much just messing around with sports games and Fallout 4, but it's been fun. Like, I'm glad I actually have the time to sit down and play for a little bit.
Eric keeps trying to convince me to get FIFA, well, now Football Club. Obviously with him being an
Dude, it's good. It's really good.
Sport, but I really was
it's
into
really
like,
good.
I was really into like French football for a little I would say like maybe a year and a half whenever I lived in Webb City down in Missouri, just because it was easy because my roommate was really into it. So we just would watch a lot of League One games, but I think the biggest challenge is just
PSG and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was a big Lyonnais fan. I'm a big Lyon guy myself, or at least I was back then. But the most annoying part, I think, was just, especially back then, because this would have been back in 2017, 2016, the subscription services, or the ways you could even access it, were really challenging. There used to be this like Reddit page where you could just like go and then get like free streams that way, but that got shut down pretty damn quickly. But I think there's Fubi TV now exists, and I think that's where you can kind of watch like any of the football.
Yep. There's a lot of that. And then there's, just totally legal streaming on the internet that you can do.
I need to get into it more, though. I mean, Kansas City has a team, so like I never get to go to the games.
They do.
Yeah, they actually have two. I mean, they have the women's team as well, and the
They
women's
have
team
two
actually,
teams, I think. Yeah.
The women's team does a lot better than the men's team, and the women's team actually sells out more than the men's team, which is
that's the same in Portland.
Yeah,
the women's team does a lot better.
It is kind of
but
interesting.
But I think a lot of those players were on the women's Olympic
That's
team,
true.
So that kind of makes sense.
Does Megan play out of the Portland team? I feel like I can't remember where she plays.
I think she used to.
Oh, I think she did retire, didn't she?
But she retired, after the latest World Cup.
Yeah.
Or Olympic run or whatever it was.
It's pretty cool.
Right. Yep.
I mean, outside of that, like gaming wise, obviously, like I said, I've been getting back into my Baldur's Gate 3 second like full playthrough. I kind of gave up on it a little bit just because I'll be honest, once you get to Act 3, like my whole playstyle was playing as a paladin of Selûne, and without giving out massive spoilers, that kind of doesn't make a lot of sense storytelling wise in Act 3, and so I've had to like I put it on pause, and I just had to like figure out how I wanted to do it all, because I mean, especially whenever I was in Explorer or whatever the lowest difficulty is, it's not as challenging, of course, to like keep healing. It's not as challenging to keep up on that type of stuff. So I really did respec like Shadowheart mostly just to like a warcaster in a sense. And so it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense to have Shadowheart do that and then also me do that. But there's still some limitations by doing like the cleric paladin, as although you can get up front and close and do a lot of like heavy melee damage, you still get better damage from a distance, especially playing as like a light cleric. So I'm just having to figure out. I might just go ahead and just completely respec just to like a regular ass paladin. But it's been pretty fun. I also am really excited for the modding to come out as well, because I've been using a few really fun mods, like really fun mods. What were you gonna say though? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think with your Selûne cleric thing, definitely Act 3. There's certain characters in the party that will definitely like if you're playing like the way you're doing it with multiple people, I think that's the best way if you want to play that cleric. But without with that character not in the party, it's probably better not to do that.
Yeah, and see, the problem is that I romanced Shadowheart as well, just because I wanted to see like that specific romance option that exists for the dual sisters. So I don't know. I mean, it was fun. Like I learned a lot, and it was like really, again, that's what makes the game so beautiful, is that there's so many different paths you can go down. It's like it's like that movie, that Netflix movie Bandersnatch. I feel like I just constantly feel like I have to like go back and then pick the different selection. But outside of that, of course, playing Baldur's Gate 3, and then it's also, I have been trying to like take a little bit of a step back, especially knowing that we're going to start doing the group playthrough, just because I don't want to burn myself out with the game.
Right.
But Manor Lords finally came out. It had been in production for a while, or 2 or 3 years now, which we can talk about in a little bit later, because we'll touch on it with the news. But it's a really, really fun game. It kind of meshes a lot of different game genres that I really enjoy playing. So it's kind of like a combination of like very, very light aspects of an RPG. More so like the RPG aspect is more like the like people of your community and like the people of your like village. But it has like, it's just a historically really accurate, pretty decently accurate game. And it allows you to do like city building alongside with like map quests. So things like Crusader Kings 3, shit like that. But it's pretty cool. I played it very lightly. Eric has been playing it a lot, so I asked him, I was like, can you give me like your quick thoughts? And he stayed up so late last night, I think that he also was not able to see that message in time. But he's been playing that a lot, and it looks like it's pretty damn fun, so I just picked up myself a copy on the Steam Deck. And then outside of that, whenever I was trying to take a little bit of a break from Baldur's Gate, I've just picked back up Skyrim. And I think
I'm so mad at you.
I think before we dive into that, let's go ahead and just roll the intro. So that way we can have a little bit of time to discuss this. All right, so like normally, I guess this is where the intro would play for everybody that's listening. Let's skip over the music aspect. Let's maybe talk about the music at the very end, just because I want to keep us kind of on track.
Yep.
All right, welcome back. So before Kyle yells at me on camera. So I've been playing Skyrim again. I never got into the game back whenever it was in its prime. I never really got into it in that whole era, just partially because that was like right whenever I was in that crazy Christian college and they just didn't let us play games like that. And then 2 was just I don't know, it just wasn't really like the genre that I normally gravitated towards. Put your hand up to your camera, it's out of focus. There you
Oh, I don't know how to fix that.
That's
okay.
There we go. Anyways, so I'll be honest. I don't know if it's just the games have changed a lot since then. Like, I mean, because this game is what, almost like 15 years old now. I mean, it's fucking old, right?
It came out 2011, I think.
So 13 years
Something
old.
like that.
So, I mean, I know that it's a pretty old game, and maybe like our wants and desires behind games have kind of changed, but I feel like compared to a lot of the other titles that I'm playing right now, it just feels lackluster. Like, it feels empty compared to kind of maybe what we expect from modern games. I will say that my frustration, and I will admit that I feel like mods have helped this, but my frustration was for the longest time as well that the game was priced the way it was for the graphics and just the quality that you get. So I didn't realize that when I re-downloaded the game, I had not re-downloaded the mod, and so I figured that out last night. But 11. Okay, so there you go. That's back when Bethesda actually put thought behind their releases. Anyways, the mods have kind of definitely helped me a lot, just kind of making it look better and making it just be a little bit more like bearable. But I just feel like this first hour of gaming has just been very boring. And I know you disagree strongly.
Dude, like, you wake up and like nearly get beheaded and a fucking dragon attack saves you and you think that's a boring first hour? Are you out of your fucking mind? That's still cool. I don't care how long that game's been out. That is awesome. And then you escape to like a nearby town through a cave and like have to figure out what the hell you're gonna do now. That's awesome.
I think it's like the Bethesda faces. I think it's like I don't know, the like voice acting somehow feels so unnatural. Like, it just feels like
that's
I don't know,
it's
like
not as bad as Oblivion, but
and I will say, like, I'll admit, like, 100% I think that Baldur's Gate 3 has definitely like kind of maybe in a way like set my like subconscious like bar so high, because I mean just the way that the acting is handled in there is just like stellar, like better than any other RPG that I've ever played. But at the same time, like, I don't know, like, I'm not getting into it the way that I feel like I want to, and the way that I've seen people stream and play daily over. And I know that like it'll eventually probably get a little bit better, but like crazy. Right now it's just kind of like meh.
Because like I can go back to it at any point in time with any new character or old character and still have a blast.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, can you admit that maybe part of that's like nostalgia reasons, though? Because like I feel the same way about like original Battlefront.
There's that, and then like I mod, like all my mods are, like I said earlier, aesthetic. So like the game looks how it's supposed to look if it was made today.
Yeah,
for me.
How many mods do you like run on average? Because I don't know, like, if you're supposed to limit it or like I just
probably
don't know how it works.
I know people that have hundreds of mods, but I maybe have like maybe 5 to 15, maybe.
Okay.
Like, not a whole lot, and they're all like, you know, different races that aren't in the game, or like make your character look like better, or different dialogue options that they added in, or make your water look more realistic, or your realistic weather and stuff like that. Like, that's all I'm doing.
I mean, are yours all like on console, or like what? I mean, because
I only play on console. But yeah, it's like they've had 60 FPS mods out for like 4 years on that game. And it runs perfectly, looks great to me. I still have fun with it. Probably one of my favorite games ever. So like when you were saying that, I was like, how are
This
like,
is a
what?
personal attack.
What?
Yeah.
It's like, what is going on? How are you not having fun? But like, I don't know.
I mean, I get that.
But
Like,
I didn't play it for like when it first came out. I didn't have the money to get it.
Yeah.
So there were still a few years where I didn't even play it. But
it was. I mean, it still was priced pretty expensive all the way up until like this past year. I think. Like, I think only this past year did Bethesda actually lower it to like the way that a game should be priced when it's 11 years or to 13 years old.
yeah, and they had the 15 or 10-year anniversary a while ago, and the prices went back up because now you can have like a honor mode or whatever, or realistic mode or whatever the hell they call it. So the price went back up.
Well, and I don't know, like
I hated the honor mode, so
I think that like it's I kind of look at it the same way that I look at like Battlefront 2, like the original like 2005 version, because some people will pick it up and just say that it's boring. Some people like say they just don't really enjoy playing it. Like I know that was a pretty common. Like I feel like it was definitely a nostalgia grab for them to re-release the games, but I think once people dived into the meat of it, then they were like, oh, this is boring. But like that's a game that I could pick up again and just play endlessly for hours and hours and hours and never be bored. Like I probably I would venture to say that I probably had like 3,000 or like 3,500 to 4,000 hours dedicated to that game growing up. Just because I mean it's just I literally played that game so much that my PlayStation 2 would not read any other disc at all. Like it was weird. But yeah, I mean that's kind of been about it. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was that song you shared with me on was it Instagram or Facebook? I can't remember where.
I think it was Facebook.
It was it was one of those like mashup songs of like all the songs from the decade.
Oh yeah,
right?
they did.
The year.
No. Basically, it is an updated version of 1985 by Bowling for Soup, but instead of 1985, it's 2002.
2002. Okay, I see.
So that's where all the references are pulled from and stuff.
I see.
So it's not like a, you know, we didn't start the fire sort of thing. It's just them updating the song, but it's a different, like it's a female singer that I think, and it's just Bowling for Soup's instrumental in the background. And yeah, I liked it a lot. I thought it was super funny, super like clever. But I can't for the life of me remember who the other singer is. But you could probably just search 2002 Bowling for Soup and it'll pop up on there. And it's, I mean, if you know, I was like 12 or 13 around then, so just like the hit clips and the LimeWire references and like it's like what. Then like talking about iTunes crashing, and I was like, is iTunes still a thing or is it just Apple Music? Like I don't even know. I just thought that was super funny.
It definitely listening to it definitely like brought back a lot of core memories. You know, I don't know how much of course of like my like life I had shared with you guys, mainly just because of course our relationship was different back then. But you know, my step family, before my parents got divorced, my step family was in radio, and that's just what they had done for years. And so growing up, it was like weird because my stepdad would never let us listen to like the competing stations. Like we would get in trouble if we listened to like the competing stations. But the type of station that the type of radio station that it was all like 80s, 90s, and like kind of somewhat modern music. So a lot of it was still like more aged. And I remember like my stepbrother and I used to sneak into like in the bedroom. We would like put a blanket over like our little stereo and have like the headphones and everything. And we would sit there and listen to this like one show. I can't remember what the show's name was, but they would always start the show, or they would always, end the show with every time you touch, I get this feeling, and every time I kiss.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I just remember they would
song.
play all these different songs, and there was one, I think it was actually an Usher song that my stepdad like came in and we got in so much trouble, and he like took the like stereo away from us or whatever.
Oh no.
It was like so weird, but it always makes me laugh because there was so much music back then that like I used to remember just like closetedly listening to, ironically. I think the other one I always joke about this whenever I like talk about people about like coming out and everything, but I think the other warning sign was how I like knew the entire dance to Bad Romance. I like learned the entire dance and did that all in my bedroom. And one time my mom walked in and I got so embarrassed. I was like, "Oh my god, get out!" But I was like doing the whole thing. Oh,
That's like some like Kurt Hummel stuff on Glee.
yeah. Honestly, though,
Like exactly that, pretty much.
oh, and that fucking show, even by today's standards, that show is kind of weird. I like went back to try and watch some of the episodes.
Yeah, I
And
can't
was like,
watch it
"Ooh,
anymore.
Ryan Murphy, you did some stuff that was pretty questionable back then.
That's a weird. It's a weird watch, and now that has like all that just controversy and
Yeah.
death around it. It's even harder to watch, and I'm like, nah, I don't think I'll go back and watch it.
It's kind of like I really cannot go back and watch some of those like Nickelodeon shows that we grew up on because of like all the stuff that came out of with like Dan Snyder and everybody afterwards. It makes it like impossible for me to like watch it and not feel just like super uncomfortable. Like especially the Amanda Show. I used to watch that every fucking day whenever I'd come home from school.
Yeah.
I would like rush home. I would like literally run from elementary so that way I could make it in time to watch the episode. And like it's, I don't know, even like Hannah Montana, even like Disney Channel's kind of coming under the fire for like That's So Raven and what happened to like all of the cast members after they like all left the the show. But it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, I was a big like Drake and Josh guy, so hearing all that stuff I was like, whoa, okay. It was like, to me, like at that point, I'm like, in middle school, and Drake Bell's the coolest dude in the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
And then even afterwards, he became a fucking rock star, and that was like super, super cool. But I don't know. I mean, it's just the little video that you sent me, or that little song, just was a definite nostalgia trip. Definitely made me think back.
Oh yeah.
Kind of outside of that, I think one of the things I wanted to do before we dive into like Fallout, because that's kind of what we were going to try to focus on this episode. So there's this one account on Twitter. So just like me, a bunch of people exited from Twitter, or a bunch of people dipped out of Twitter because it's kind of gotten a little bit really Nazi-ish, like a lot of like really like legit Nazis, like legit fascist, white supremacist, like all of the people that got kicked off years ago have all come back, and it really has like started to almost kind of like ruin content for me. Like Twitter's been my primary social media since college. Like I really don't do a lot of stuff on Facebook. I really don't do a lot of stuff on Instagram anymore, especially now that Facebook owned them. I just kind of stopped using it as much. But Twitter's always been like my main social media, and of course, like especially for the Star Wars community, like that's where I've like met a lot of my like Star Wars friends. That's where I like got into the book club that I'm in. But at the same time, like it's gotten very almost kind of scary to be on the app, like to the point where like it's almost like uncomfortable to even like mention anything because people just like run with it. Great example. All I did was I tweeted out that it's wild to me that there's people out there that hate tomatoes. Somehow that turned into like a thing about me being a woke liberal by somebody's comment that I woke up this morning over.
What?
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, that was weird. And then they messaged me this like long fucking message on Twitter and like calling out that one tweet, and then like dove deep into my content and like made it a thing. It was just weird shit like that happens on there. But
what does that have to do with tomatoes?
I don't fucking know. I just like
I mean, nail on the head with the liberal stuff, but how did you know it's based off tomatoes?
What are you talking about?
It's like very good studying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right.
But okay, so like all of that being said, like a bunch of people have like left Twitter, especially in like the Star Wars community, like Star Wars content creation space. And one of like my all-time favorite accounts back on like the good era of Twitter was this account called Star Wars BattleBot. And what it would do is just pull like two random ass characters in a battle and just say like who would win. And it was just always funny just to like see some people's responses. You had like the typical people that were like took it way too seriously and like there's no way that he would win.
I get questions like that.
Yeah.
I get questions like that all the time, and I'm just like, oh crap, I really have to think about that before I can give you like my genuine answer.
But there's a few that I wanted to share because I wanted us to see what we thought. Let me get Chrome pulled up really quick. Go ahead and pull up a few of those links that I sent you.
None of them would work for me, man.
Oh. So I'll just read them off then.
Yeah. Yeah. That's They wouldn't work. I was like, even like after I like logged in, it was like no. So I don't know. I'm bad at twittering and twatting and all that crap.
Let me see. I should have saved it. Now that we're in Discord, I can't jump out of the call or else you'll lose your place in the video. I'll just go to it and then I'll try to remember.
Okay.
Star Wars _ battle.
Battlebud. This message brought to you by water. Did you drink water today? It's free.
No, not yet. I've been drinking
What?
soda. Man, they even put more better ones on after I sent these this morning. Fuck.
Just throw a dart, pick one. Let's go.
All right, so let's start off with. Let's do this one. Okay,
I'm going knee jerk reaction here, but okay.
So we're gonna do Ayla Secura versus the Mithril. So Ayla Secura, of course, from episode 3, realistically only. The Mithril
Yeah,
was
pretty much.
the blue guy from Mando season 1, episode 1. The guy that he's like hunting after. Who would win?
Ayla Secura.
I don't know. She died pretty easily.
Hey, whoa, hey. She flopped before she was even shot, but I don't care. That's a Jedi. Like, come on.
I mean, you're not wrong. I actually kind of vote the blue guy. I vote the Mithril because simply because he's so Weasley and got out of death so many different times.
I'm not saying she'd have to kill him. She'd just win the fight.
All right, let me scroll down a little bit more. All right, so Quay Tolsty from, I believe Quay Tolsty was from, I can't remember. Anyways, that's a pike. I want to say that specific character was from Mando, one of the pikes that came to not Mando, sorry, Book of Boba Fett, one of the syndicate reps that went to Mos Eisley. So we've got them versus a Gonk droid.
Them.
Okay. Mainly just because they have like the
push over a Gonk droid.
Yeah. I kind of wish that they would do just to be funny and just to piss people off. I wish they would do like a combative Gonk droid. I mean, I think they kind of did in Rebels, right? There was that one Gonk droid that kept like
kind
sort of
of
murdering
but he's
people.
Mostly just a walking trash can.
Yeah, that's true. All right, last one. We're gonna do Hondo Onakata versus Vel Sartha. So Hondo versus...
I don't know who either of those people are.
Hondo from Rebels. He was the dude with the little spikes that comes down off of his face. He was the weapons dealer. And then Vel from Andor. The blonde baddie.
Oh. Yeah, not her.
Very easy. Hondo, so I would actually
she got into one combat and like had to be pulled out by some creeper. Like,
oh no, not Daedra.
She's just
not
smart.
Daedra. We're talking about
who are you thinking of?
She's the one that's she's the cousin of Mon Mothma. She's the one that's like the rich girl that everyone.
Oh shit, that changes things.
So
yeah, probably her.
Hondo, but the thing is that Hondo from Clone Wars was pretty like dark and bad, and so I don't know. Like Hondo, like in Rebels, was more of like a joke character. Like he was there more for like comedic relief for the most part. But from what I recall, Hondo from Clone Wars was a little bit more bad guy. I mean, because if you remember that episode where Ahsoka and all the Padawans got trapped on the ship, then they have to like escape off of their whatever that, I can't remember the title, the name of the ship that always goes to Ilum every time. Anyways, it's that guy. He's the bad guy from that episode, if you recall that at all.
Not even a little bit. But I know who the blonde girl is.
So there we go. There's our battle bot of the week. I think kind of outside of that, I think we might just be ready to go ahead and talk about Fallout.
Do you feel loved? Hell yeah.
So it sounds like you stayed up pretty late last night trying to watch Fallout, huh?
Yeah. So I knew we were gonna talk about it, but I hadn't really set aside any time
Mm-hmm.
to actually watch it. I played the game, but I hadn't watched the show really. I thought I had finished episode 2. I had only finished episode 1.
Oh.
So around 8:30 last night, I sat down and watched them all, and around 4 a.m. I was done. Very very tired.
Yeah,
But
I was kind of shocked when you messaged me.
I loved it. Yeah, I'd never stay up that late. Ever. Ever. But I don't know, with new contacts and stuff, my eyes don't get messed up, so
Oh.
I can do stuff like that. And I wanted to watch it cuz like I don't know, I just wanted to see what the big deal was, see if I liked it. I know I liked the first episode a lot,
Yeah.
and then a lot of it, like I was, a lot of shows you can kind of predict what the heck is going to happen.
Yeah.
A few things in, and I had no idea where they were going with anything.
I think they've done a really good job of like keeping
yeah.
people on their toes each episode.
Yeah, and I think the casting is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
The little like
Absolutely.
subtle music Easter eggs, so like kind of what they drew inspiration, what game they drew inspiration from. The title sequences being completely different every single episode. Like, I think they just did a really good job with it. And honestly, I don't think Bethesda or Amazon probably thought it would do this well.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I think it's a lot like The Last of Us. I think it's actually shocked everyone on just how well game adaptations can be. Because I think that for the most part, we really got a lot of really shit adaptations for like a super long number of years, almost 20 years. I feel like we got these adaptations of games that were just lackluster and just not great. But I think
like Prince of Persia.
Yeah. Well, I think they're discovering if they do it in a show, it gives them more time, right?
I think video games should be should be shows.
Yeah.
I really do.
Doing the movie really there's too much shit to fit into it, especially on some games like Assassin's Creed. That was my biggest complaint, is that it just felt like they were trying to condense so much shit into just like a 2-hour movie that it made it like completely unenjoyable. But I mean, The Last of Us was absolutely astonishingly stellar, and I have really, really loved. I've really, really loved Fallout. I haven't really been able to watch anything past like the 3rd episode, just because I'm trying to watch it with one of my really good friends. But
dude, you're gonna love it. Like, it is so good. There's so many twists and turns, and like
fucking god.
With me, like I'm always waiting for like a jump scare and stuff like that. But like they build up stuff, but there's no like, you're scared now,
Well, I think it's very similar to the game in that aspect too, right? Because the game's not necessarily about jump scares. It's about like the tension, which makes it kind of scary.
Yeah, it's about this is rough. Figure it out, dude, or you're gonna die. That's the game,
I will say
like
that
obviously you're a vault dweller, so you're not used to that at all.
Yeah. I think that what also probably helps the show a lot, because I noticed this with Last of Us, I noticed this especially with Andor. Just like Andor, this show had a massive, massive budget dedicated to specifically the production aspect of it, like building the set and everything. But I think that they've said that like very, very few parts of this show are actually CGI generated outside of like distance shots, things off in the distance. Most everything has actually been live sets, which I think really helps. That's something that I think Pedro talked about in Mando, how first season, like obviously everything was in front of that screen. It still added this really big element of realness.
The giant screen.
But then the second season, I think they switched to the larger studio where they actually were able to build sets surrounding the screen, which made it just feel so much more realistic.
Right.
But
yeah, I can't recommend it enough. Even like, the reason I'm so delayed with it, I was trying to get my wife to watch it with me, and she's like, "Well, I haven't played any of the games."
Doesn't matter.
And I was like, "Well, you really wouldn't have to understand what's going on, but that's all right. I'll I guess I'll just watch it on my own. But I think yeah, they did a really good job of like, if you haven't played the game, you don't really. Yeah, you really don't really have to. You can just kind of jump in and follow this story because it's a brand new story just set in the same
Yeah.
world of Fallout.
And they did an amazing job with the story, like the world building in the first episode. They did a really fucking fantastic job with that.
Yeah,
I think that's a really
I was
hard
talking
line to
about
actually,
that as
follow.
well. When it's like you had to introduce 3 main characters
Yep.
in one episode and the setting
The entire world.
and give
The
them
games
like
developed.
reason to do give them reason to do what the heck they're doing and have people care about these characters, and they did it. And it's like, like, I mean, because when I first started watching, I watched the first 15 minutes and stopped, right? And I
Yeah.
was like, even that first 15 minutes, I was like, holy crap, they put so much in there.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many Easter eggs just right off the bat. I was like, okay, this is probably gonna be good, and it was.
If anything, the games
I know
just
it's already
add, like,
been
having an understanding of the games just makes you appreciate the show more, if anything.
and it's like I've never beaten any of the games. I've just played them, but like obviously like locations and stuff I'm gonna know.
Yeah.
And then like the music in the background, I know specifically for and Fallout 4 is the one I've played the most. They like, and the menu music is in there quite a bit for
Yeah.
Fallout 4. And just when it hits, it's very subtle, and then it like grows, and I'm like, oh, okay,
I recognize
this is
that.
where we are now.
Yeah. I will say
But
that
just, I mean, even that 50s music in general is just
Exactly.
amazing. But
it's
the
but
score
they also
itself
like
is
still
also
made
really
it
good.
very vintage feeling, even though it's a modern score. But I will also say
Yeah.
the one thing that I found out like really fucking cool. I haven't really played the games outside of just like kind of starting off a little bit playing a friend's game or something. But I also noticed that even like when it came to situations of danger or situations of like a bad guy coming up, like it did that same auditory change that the music does like in the games, because that's something that as much as I know Bethesda gets hate on, I feel like that's something they did really, really well. The sound design that they did in the games, to where different situations would make the same song sound different, based on your reactions or the way that you handle the situation. So that's just been really cool to see. I also, I think that there's a lot of characters in there that are in the games that I think people are looking forward to seeing in the shows. So I think it also gives us like level of anticipation, especially for season 2, which they
And then,
obviously have already announced they're doing.
Right, and then it's the creatures, like they haven't put all of them in there yet that are pretty like notable, and I think they already kind of said they're gonna put some more in there in season 2. And then if you know a little bit about Fallout and you get to the end, you kind of know where they're going with it.
Yeah.
And I'm really 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 excited for that. But I there aren't a lot of shows where like I get excited for it and it ends up being like worth it to watch.
Yeah.
Because like we had the last one I got really excited for was probably Ahsoka, and it was just such a kind of a letdown there at the end.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, they shoved so much shit
like,
into that last episode.
Yeah, I'm stoked on Fallout, and I'm glad they're people are like picking it up for the first time and like getting into this world in the video game based on just how well the show is doing. Like I think that's great. Do I think Bethesda should be making money off of it? I don't know, but well, like obviously it's their creation, but it's like you haven't put any effort into this game in like a decade.
Yeah.
But all right. And then I mean Fallout 76 is, I think it's better now than it was at launch.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't know how many people went back to it.
I know a lot of people didn't go back to it, but from what I've heard and from what I watched, just kind of preparing for us to be able to talk about this, it seems like they really did do a turnaround, which was what a lot of people were hopeful for when it came to Starfield, but obviously that probably will never happen. I think the difference is that the way
like
that they
Starfield's just kind of dead.
It is, but they also, the way that they built like Fallout 76 is they built it to where it could be expanded on, but Starfield they really didn't. Like there's a lot of technical limitations which we can get into once we do that full episode of like what went wrong with some video games. There's a lot of technical limitations to Starfield that literally prevent people from modding it the way that they want to, and that's why even the modding community says we're not going to spend any time on this. It's just not worth it. It's sad, but you know, there was kind of two things that I wanted to talk about when it came to the show. First off, I don't know if you knew this, but just like The Last of Us, it actually made the game sale spike like insanely.
I did know that.
So
7,500% sales growth for Fallout. Yep, I did know that, and I was like, awesome. Enjoy the world. Go for it.
One day, one single day following the there's probably a bunch of sirens sounding right now.
Whoa. Yeah, there is. Uh-oh.
Anyways, man, I always have my work cut out for me when it comes to this fucking audio. I just can't get a break. I just need to like...
Yeah. Have fun cutting that out, loser.
I know. I need to go into one of those anechoic chambers where it just blocks every bit of sound out. Sorry, anyways.
You lose your mind.
So The Last of Us Part 1, after The Last of Us Part 1, the show, dropped, the sales of the game went up 238%. And then, of course, you just mentioned what it went up with Fallout. With Fallout, after 1 week after the show came out, they had a consistent increase of 50% for the entire year, meaning that up until that point, when they looked at numbers on Twitch versus what they had consistently, there was a 50% increase in people streaming the games, which you can still see happening to this day, especially with the relaunch happening. And 1 day after the full series dropped, over 5 million players were seen signing on to Fallout 4 and Fallout 76, which is insane.
So, like, my whole friends list on PlayStation, like, there's like 3 or 4 people, like, every day I come home, they're on Fallout 4 for hours. Hours. I'm like, I know you played it when it came out.
Even some of the people from our D&D group, I've noticed, like, it's just been like that's all they've played all week was Fallout 4.
But I went back to it because I was like excited for the update, and it's because of the show. Like, I was like, let me re-download it and play again.
It's I definitely think that, like, I don't know, it's maybe want to get into it. I need to go ahead and buy it. I'm trying not to buy any video games or anything like that until I get like full ass employment again, just because I'm trying to just be smart about it. Which luckily somebody bought me a copy of Manor Lords, so that was very kind of them. But yeah, you know, something
it's still $5, you know.
I mean, yeah.
Go for it.
I think I can't remember if it, like, how on discount it is. I know that it is still discounted. I just don't know if it was the Bethesda sale that they did where, like, all the games were, like, I think the highest it got was, like, 80% off or something. Which, you know, we can actually dive into that a little bit whenever we talk about Steam, a little bit once we actually get to the news aspect, because it's something that's pretty specific to Steam that I did not know existed, like game discounts and everything else. But the culture there, we'll have to talk about. So the one thing that I did want to bring up when it came to the show, just because I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts, you know, obviously we've joined the discourse on different types of shows for bad writing versus maybe the way the characters are portrayed, whatever the case may be. Something I saw, especially on Twitter, something I saw a lot of people talking about before the show came out was how they were trying to say, like, oh, if you go woke, you're going to go broke. This show is going to be a massive flop because of all the woke ideologies they're shoving down your throat. Which I think the woke ideology was the fact that they had a female lead and didn't make the female lead overtly sexual. Maybe that's what they consider wokeness. But it's interesting because I wanted to simply point out the fact that in this circumstance, this actually hit a all-time high for Prime when it comes to their specific shows. I think it actually broke records for the amount of people consistently watching a single show on Prime at one given time, and it garnered over
1.5 million viewers
a week. Yeah. It's just I don't know, like it's kind of it's wild, and I think that I think this kind of includes some of the discussion that we've had surrounding like the sequels, right? Because I think that there is like nobody will sit here, even us will not disagree with the fact that like Disney has been very overtly political with their different shows and with how they've presented their shows. I think that maybe it's the manner in which it's executed makes the difference, but I also just think that I think you can tell based on the people that are creating the show, the people that are acting in the show, that they really, really fucking love Fallout and they really, really love what they're doing. I feel like it's the exact same reason why even though Rogue One had a lot of issues with reshoots, with rewriting and everything, I think it's very apparent that everyone really enjoyed the project that they were on and really enjoyed what they did, and that was shown in the product. And I feel like it's the same thing here with like Fallout. But at the same time, like clearly, I mean, them mixing things up, them breaking the norm, them having like a strong female lead and everything has paid off because a lot of people across all different age ranges are also enjoying it. I think it even has like a really high viewership among like the boomer generation as well. It's just, it literally is a show that does transcend like different age groups, different, you know, demographics and everything.
I mean, we kind of touched on it last week. You don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Go complain on the internet or grass. I don't care, dude.
But obviously also don't complain on the internet if you haven't watched it.
Yeah, it's like show's doing just fine. Shut up. Who cares?
Yeah.
I don't care about that shit at all, and it's just so annoying. It's like, oh, you have a female. Who the fuck cares?
Or like
Nick
Offerman
a black guy.
said,
who cares?
Like Nick Offerman said with
fuck
his character
off.
on The Last of Us. No one fucking cares. Like that's what he said whenever he accepted
like
the
he
award.
played. Yeah, it's like he played a gay character. Who fucking cares? Shut up.
And I think that, like, especially, we've talked about it a lot with, like, Ahsoka, right? Because everyone dogs on Disney a lot because they do push a lot of female-led shows out recently. But, like, I, for one, love that. I fucking love it. I love that, like, I literally did see a child's costume, like a child's girl's costume for Fallout before the show even came out. Like, I think that it's just cool seeing people, like, cosplay in it. I think that, especially for people maybe who never would have gotten into it if it wasn't necessarily mainstream. Like, I think that there is an element of that like we should acknowledge. Like, there's people that have been big Fallout fans, but maybe haven't felt super comfortable talking about it in public because of the way that people act whenever it comes to that shit. But I mean, like, I know like Allie, one of your coworkers, one of my, friends, she's really, really into the series, and she has always talked about how amazing the game is and how amazing that whole series is, specifically New Vegas, And I think it's just awesome that people, just like how I felt, like how I got almost emotional, like watching Ahsoka, just because you see all these things that you never thought you would see, like on a screen, because you've always seen them as animated or just in the game. I feel like it's the same thing for a lot of people. And I think it's not only sparked a lot of nostalgia for a lot of people, but it's also just sparked the curiosity. Because again, they did such an amazing job with the world building in just the few episodes I've watched that I think it's going to drive a lot of people into that like game culture, if you will.
Well, there's just a lot of, obviously a lot of that, where they go is from the games, or just seeing that, like, a place you've, like, played, and, like, it's an actual practical set.
Yeah.
And, like, real, the characters are live action, and just interacting with that world, that's just, like, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It's just the
I
way
definitely
felt
think the three main characters just all good arcs, all good casting.
The casting was fucking chef's kiss, phenomenal.
Dude, Walton Goggins is incredible.
He does such
Absolutely
a good job at
incredible.
those like dystopian roles too. I kind of
Yeah.
hate that I feel almost like he's been typecasted into that role, because several of his recent projects have been all dystopian kind of characters, but he has this like,
And then he's
50s
that's why I like the Righteous Gemstones character, because it's just so ridiculous.
It's so over the top.
I love it.
But
he's
I think
great.
I think, before we kind of wrap up the Fallout discussion, I did want to touch a little bit on the games. We're going to dive, like I said, we'll have a whole episode dedicated to like kind of the state of gaming and, do a little bit of an understanding of why. But, I think what's interesting and what's made it a little bit challenging for me to want to get into the Fallout games is, one, where do you even start? You know what I mean? Like how do you dive into it? Because you can't really go back and play Fallout 1 and still, that game looks 150% different from all the other Fallout games. But it's kind of challenging to figure out necessarily where to dive in or what to dive in on, especially because one of the most popular of the Fallout games, New Vegas, is very dated at this point. Like, very dated.
Yeah, and they have no plans to remaster it or anything.
Maybe after the show. Maybe with the show's success, maybe they'll
maybe
dedicate some time to it.
But I think probably a good start, if you're able to play it, and I know it's super outdated too, is maybe 3, then Vegas and 4. But if you wanted to do it in order, I guess. But like, they're all, different stories at different times. So you could just start wherever. I think I started with 4 and then backtracked to Vegas. And the common thing I hear a lot is Vegas is like a lot cooler, like, story in game to play, but Fallout 4 is obviously like the more polished, better game.
Especially probably with the remaster as well.
I agree with that. Oh yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Which is why I wish they would remaster Vegas, because like I think they'd make a fuck ton of money off of it. Everyone would enjoy it.
I think that, especially because it was like universally, it's kind of like one of those like just classics. Like it's to me it's kind of like Half-Life. Like it's why, like, even to this day, almost 30 years later, like Half-Life is still so popular and still so successful, because it just is a groundbreaking game that was just like a staple of its time. I feel like that's the same thing with like New Vegas. I remember, granted at that time I was really deep into Halo, so I didn't really get into it, but I remember like all my fucking friends had, Fallout New Vegas, and that's all they played.
It's so good. So good. Just that setting in general, with like the neon and everything, it's just, ugh.
It's from the videos that I watched, because I watched like a whole ass lore video before we dove into this, just because I wanted to have like a general understanding. But based on the videos that I saw, it very much had the same, kind of the same allure as BioShock Infinite. How like BioShock Infinite had an amazing, beautiful world, but it was like there's like this darkness, there's like this understory, there's just so much complexity behind the world building that was just beautifully crafted.
Yeah, those games are beautiful too, but they're terrifying for me. But I love them.
Yeah, I think that's another one that's getting a show treatment, right? Aren't they doing I think Netflix is doing a BioShock show.
Oh, I didn't actually know that.
I think so. I think it was confirmed. I can't remember if they've released anything other than just a teaser.
Oh, I didn't know.
Well, teaser like graphic. It wasn't a teaser trailer.
Jeremy and I were talking. We're like, well, what other video games could be an adaptation? And that was one of them for me.
Yeah.
But like, I was just confused on how they would do it, because like it's very similar to kind of Fallout, where like not a lot of the games are all set at like different times, Yeah, and I don't think there's too many recurring characters, but that's pretty interesting. I didn't actually know that.
I don't want to misspeak, but I think that it was set during the fall of Rapture. I think is when they have kind of set it.
That would be interesting, because like I know the first one, Rapture's already fallen, and you're dealing with it. You're there afterwards and dealing with what the hell happened, where everyone's lost their minds and been mutated and experimented on.
Exactly.
All that. But I don't know, because I feel like it would have a similar feel to Fallout, because it has that music and stuff too. But like if they're gonna do it, they have to do it more horror based, or it's gonna be compared to Fallout out the ass.
I think that they'll strike a pretty good balance with it. I mean, the writer that's leading it is the same writer that did Blade Runner 2049, and so I mean, especially if you have the stomach, and if you have the gall to work with the Denis Villeneuve, you've got to have some salt there. I think that especially because I was a really big fan of Blade Runner 1. It's one of like my all-time favorite movies. I think that is a good example of a movie that did did something in an established world, but did it just different enough that it felt like a completely different movie that was unique, but also was just similar enough where you realized that it was also like a Blade Runner movie, if that makes sense. But based on what I'm looking up, it looks like it will be established kind of within the first BioShock game. They haven't really talked about it beyond that. I think realistically, the only thing that's been 100% confirmed was just Netflix saying that Netflix is partnering with 2K and Take-Two Interactive to produce a film adaptation of the renowned video game franchise.
Oh, cool.
So we'll see. And I feel like that would actually be a game that probably could be condensed just into a movie, because the first game was only like, what, an 8-hour campaign, which was still amazing, but it was only like an 8-hour campaign, if I'm not mistaken.
It's not too long, but I think they could probably, with the show, go back and put like more like flashbacks and stuff in, and like they did in the game, and kind of like flesh out the characters a little bit more.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of excited for that one. I can't really think of a lot of other games that I would necessarily want to see an adaptation of, but I mean, I feel like when you do it right, it just works. Which I feel like there's a lot of stuff that, like, on paper it feels like it's going to make sense, but then whenever the execution happens, it's just somehow lackluster. Which we'll kind of dive into that, because that's my thoughts on the Suicide Squad game. But yeah, so I think outside of that, the only two things I wanted to mention when it comes to Fallout 4 or when it comes to Fallout itself was just, you kind of mentioned it a little bit. It seems like it is breaking some people's game saves if you play on PC and then you update it to the newest version. I think what Bethesda has actually said is you have to remove mods, but people are pointing out that if you remove mods, then it makes their save incompatible. You can't necessarily load the save.
Oh, I didn't have a problem with that. I was just able to transfer over my save, and it just took the mods out.
It seems to be specific on PC only. So I don't know if it's just the way that the PC, like the PC files rewrite themselves or what, but yeah, it was kind of weird.
Well, oh no, Bethesda messed up a port. How surprising.
Shocker.
I mean, it's Bethesda. It's hard because, like, they only decided to give a shit about this game like 3 weeks ago again.
Yeah.
It
feels like that, yeah.
Obviously, like, they're doing the right thing and getting the money. It's smart, but, like, care a little bit more like you used to, Back when this game was out for the first time.
I think that, it's kind of like what we just talked about when it came to, like, Andor or Ahsoka or even the Fallout show. Like, I just feel like when your heart's in it, you can tell that the dev's heart was in it. And when it feels like it's a cash grab, it just feels like it's a waste of time. It feels like it's a waste of your energy and your resources, whenever it just feels like all you're being used as is just like a way to make a quick buck to do their next game. And that's the way that I felt about Starfield. It just felt like all the Starfield was like this big way to, like, I don't know, generate money for whatever next game they're trying to work on right now.
Right. And, like, just from me logically, right? If these games come out or if they're ported to somewhere else and they work, you're going to make more money.
100%.
Just make the damn thing work. Or, I don't know. I haven't played Starfield, but add more stuff. I don't know.
I don't know. Do the game that you promised us for fucking ever.
When I first heard about, like, there's no aliens or, like, anything like that, I was like, there's just people, and that's it. Okay.
I mean, there's a way to, like, do it tactfully, but they just didn't. I mean, it's the same issue. Maybe that's why I'm a little bit harder on Skyrim than I should be, because I feel like I'm seeing a lot of the same shit that I saw in Starfield literally happening in fucking Skyrim, which pisses me off that, like, the faces, like, the way that they interact, the way that, like, you get this, like, weird dead look in their eyes, like any of the NPCs, like, all of that type of stuff that was maybe acceptable for a game 13 years ago is literally happening in a AAA title right now. And it's just frustrating.
Well, that's not good.
It's just frustrating. Like that is a game that I felt like it had a lot of potential. I felt like they could have done a lot better and they could have done a lot more. And I can't necessarily lay my finger on exactly what, but the best way to describe it is that it just feels empty. It feels like once you've completed the story, there's no reason to go back and play it again. Unlike Baldur's Gate, unlike other games, it just feels like.
Yeah, I wouldn't go back to vanilla Skyrim ever. So
yeah,
I get that. If Starfield's like vanilla Skyrim, then no, absolutely not.
But Skyrim has shit to do in the world. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Starfield, there's like 4 or 5 different things to do on a few different planets. I mean, especially at this point, the game is fun when you pick it up every once in a while just to play it here and there. And then like the build crafting and stuff, like trying to create different ships, has been pretty cool and pretty fun and pretty unique and interesting. But it's still, to me, it's just like Jedi Survivor. Why the fuck did a game come out if it's not actually optimized to run on PC? Like, that's the part that's so wild.
And it still can't run on PC.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with Starfield. Starfield, like, you have to have a ridiculous fucking setup just to be able to run the game, whenever it can run on the fucking Xbox Series S, which is like a tissue box that's posing as a fucking Xbox. Like, it's just, it's just very frustrating to me. It's frustrating to me that, like, those are 2 games that, like, my understanding has always been that like PCs get the better treatment because they have more room
That's what I thought.
with it, right? But this is 2 games in a row that I have personally played and that I've personally invested my money in, where it feels like it can't hold up. Like, it's just weird. This is weird.
I feel like PC games should run smoother and look better than consoles.
That's the way I always understood it to be, because it had more legroom, it had more RAM, it had more everything to work with.
And then, like, and a PC, a gaming PC costs way more than a console, so the games for it should be better, in my opinion.
Yeah. Which I think that's
or
partially
run better,
why
look better.
Like, the Steam Deck is also so popular, because it allows a lot of people to play PC games that they would otherwise not necessarily be able to enjoy. It gives them that little area to do that, and it still holds its own. I mean, like, even at like Act 3, it starts, like, I've started to have some issues on my Steam Deck just because it's just, I mean, Act 3 is fucking dense when it comes to Baldur's Gate. There's so much stuff happening. There's so much audio. There's so much visuals.
There's a lot.
But I don't know. I think this would probably be a good spot. Do we have to run ads because you're still an affiliate? Or does it just do it?
I think there's a button to press it if you want to run one. But also, when I started this stream, one ran automatically. So
I don't know if we have to run that. I guess we may not have to.
I don't know if we have to, but they might just pop up automatically. I honestly don't know how that's set up anymore. Okay. I never ran them. I never, like, automatically ran any when I was doing this. So I know one just pops up beforehand. So, and it already did.
Log into creator dashboard, stream manager. Let's go ahead and do a quick ad break. We're going to do a 60-minute ad that gives us a quick sec to refill my drink.
I hope it's not 60 minutes.
60 seconds, sorry. Let's do a quick 60-second ad break. That'll give us a good time to also transition into the next content. We'll see you guys in just a sec. If that even works. I don't know if that'll work. There we go. It's played. All right. I'll try to have us blow through the news because
it's running a little late.
Yeah. So let's skip over the Star Wars. That doesn't really matter because there's not a lot of information.
The Skeleton Crew's bare bones. I don't care about Daisy Ridley, really.
Let's just skip over.
Obviously,
all the Star
we know
Wars
about
stuff,
season
then.
2, but there's no news there. It's just like season 2's coming. Yeah, we know. The gaming, Bungie. I mean, that would be your thing to talk about there for sure.
So let's talk about Bungie. Let's talk about Suicide Squad.
Okay. Because we already hit on Bethesda quite a bit. Larian, I don't really think we need to go into. Like, we know they're doing well. And I think we've kind of touched on it before. It's like if you put the thought and effort into the game, it's going to be good. We know that.
The Steam one, let's talk about that just because that's an interesting topic.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Manor Lords, but I mean,
I'll skip over it anyways because I'd rather get somebody else's opinion. Like Eric can share his thoughts or something.
Let's hit on the Steam thing.
Let's do Steam.
I don't know too much about that.
And we also definitely need to talk about the ethics of preserving games.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little worrisome there.
I think everyone's back. They're probably listening to us just sitting here yapping.
Yep. I mean, it's live, man. It's gonna be edited down. I promise. You're here for the fun parts.
Is it? All right. So, do we? I need to find that. I think we still have like the Nerd Network news thing, but anyways, let's segue.
It should still be in the
fun
drive
news.
somewhere, but.
So for those of you guys who are listening to us on Twitch, this is where we're going to talk about. We're going to try to do a little bit better of a job of actually bringing some interesting stuff to the news each and every single week. This week, we're going to kind of touch on a few subjects. We're running a little bit late on time, especially Jazz with us. We have to game here in 45 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we'll try to blow through this a little bit really quickly. So first off, in gaming news, just because remember, all of this news that we're talking about is just kind of only relevant to us. It's not like we're not like actually talking about everything that happened this week in gaming or this week in nerdy stuff. It's just we're kind of cherry picking some stuff here. But first, I actually wanted to talk about Bungie and Destiny 2. So of course, the final shape is coming out pretty soon. If I'm not mistaken, that's coming out in like a month. Jazz, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But something happened this past week. So, of course, you're aware of what sunsetting is. I don't feel like I need to explain that, and everybody here knows what sunsetting is. But a few years ago now, I think it was almost a year and a half ago, or it's not 2 years. What'd you say?
I don't know what sunsetting is.
You don't know what's okay. So sunsetting is whenever it's whenever they try to turn, like when they take away old content or when they kind of try to push people to not use specific content anymore. So like sunsetting when it comes to like WoW, World of Warcraft is a good example. The DLC that they had 15 years ago is sunset. They're not going to have that material necessarily in the game because of course people have moved on from it. So when it comes to the world of Destiny 2, what they did is they introduced all of this as a means to try and shrink the game size down. So they got rid of a bunch of planets, they put them all in the vault, kind of slowly have been like rotating them in and out, I guess, on maps and shit. And one of the things that they did is they actually went through and sunset, like, I think literally every single weapon that was not from the most recent 2 to 3 seasons when that all happened. So we're talking like, because this is almost like 10-year-old game now, we're talking about almost 5 years of weapons and armors that people have like earned that then just completely got, they weren't really like nullified because you could still own them, but they lowered the power level so low that it was like inconsequential to ever bring it to the fight, to where like if you did, you would just be so low light level that it would actually make you like kind of shitty, if that makes any sense. But what they did is they said, we're sunsetting all of this. We understand why you guys would be pissed off, but this is our decision's pretty much final. And then a few seasons later, meaning like, a few cycles later, they decided that they were also going to completely change the economy of how things like legendary shards, like crafting materials or just materials required to like, make specific weapons or to upgrade specific weapons. They changed all of that shit as well. So they changed the entire economy of the game. And so they said, you guys should go through and clear out your vaults. That way you guys can get these and turn them in for different materials, because if not, all those materials are going away. So then people went through and deleted guns left and right, deleted armor left and right. And out of nowhere, this past week, they were like, well, we really want you guys to be able to play with your friends, and we really want people that haven't played Destiny 2 in a very long time to come back. So we're unsetting all of these weapons, which pissed a bunch of people off. It pissed me off and myself because...
The people just got rid of?
Yep. And they said they even mentioned it in the... they have This Week at Bungie as like their weekly thing. But they even mentioned it in the TWA or whatever it's called nowadays, that literally what was going to happen was like, it's gone. Like they said, well, there's no way to bring it back. They're gone. But if you still have them, you can actually use some of them now. So it pissed a bunch of people off for guns like the Recluse. A lot of these different guns that people had used because they were in meta at the time, like they were the meta weapons to use. And they just yeeted them. I did. I mean, I kept like 3 or 4 of the weapons just because they were so nostalgic. Like I had one gun that had like 36,000 kills. So I just kept it just because I wanted to be able to, just keep that in my vault. So it's going to be cool that I can use that now. But it's just very frustrating that it feels like the Destiny community is stuck in this state of whiplash where we get some really good stuff and then it goes right back to Bungie just, completely blundering how they handle something. And it just feels very frustrating that it, like, I think they realize a lot of people don't want to play the game right now because people are pissed off at them. So they think this is like a way to try and earn some people back. But again, it was just the execution. It just felt like what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like, what are you doing? It was weird. But
it sounds super weird.
And it's just frustrating because, like you said, like people have yeeted the guns and then they're like, oh, okay, well, never mind. Same thing with the armor. There's like a whole set. There's like multiple sets of armor that people just got rid of because they just were not usable anymore. They just completely changed it. So I don't know. It's one of those things where it makes you just like question what's going on behind the scenes. Like who's actually thinking about this shit? It's almost like sometimes it feels like Michael Scott works at Bungie and he just like walks into the office and it's just like, oh. But moving right along, have you actually played Suicide Squad yet? Have you played that at all?
No.
I don't think many people have
because
it got. Have you seen any of the news surrounding like Suicide Squad?
The only things I've really seen about it were like people didn't like what they ended up doing with like Batman and Superman at all.
So I think
that's all I've really seen.
I think there's aspects of people just not enjoying like how they've done some of the characters dirty, but one of the biggest things was when they sent it out for previews to journalists, there was maybe none, but not very many people that actually positively raved on the game. A lot of people were very critical of the game before it ever even freaking launched. I think that the general vibe that I'm getting from everything that I've read and everything that I've seen kind of surrounding the game is that on paper, everything seems like it should be a very successful game. It has all of like the markers of like what an AAA game should be and yada, yada, yada. But in execution, it just feels like it feels lackluster. And, you know, Luke Evans, which is a really good gaming streamer, you know, he talked about it and he said, what it feels like is it feels like this game was drafted up in a boardroom as what's going to make us the most money. What do we think is going to grab people into this game? But it's actually at the point where because it has such low playing, like such low player count, and because it has such low ratings overall, they're probably going to like scrap the roadmap because it was supposed to be a live service game. Like this was going to be their foray into like live service action or entertainment. And that's almost all being scrapped just because it's not popular. And, you know, I don't really know if I want to like spend the money on picking up a copy myself, but I really do want to like try to dive into some like better gaming streams of it because it just somehow it feels, God damn it. Another fucking siren. Hold on.
Holding on.
Perks of living in a high dense area. But anyways, there's just something about it that just somehow feels off. And it's kind of frustrating because, again, it's a game that should be very successful because, it's the Suicide Squad. That still is a very successful franchise. But it does not feel like any of the Arkham games. I can say that much.
Oh, well.
But, I don't think the studio is going to close because obviously I have too much, clout behind it. But
I didn't plan on picking it up anyway. So...
Let's see. I think also in news, I noted that for once, Steam actually got praised by people.
That never happens, ever.
So this was actually, it was actually a dev, like it was kind of like a group of devs from different studios from, I think it was the most successful games of 2023. But they all kind of met at Steam HQ, if I'm not mistaken, and they did like kind of a roundtable kind of podcast kind of thing. And it was actually brought up how much easier it is for devs to work with a platform like Steam than it is for a platform like Sony or a platform like Xbox. I think...
Oh, no. These billion-dollar corporations are hard to work with? Weird.
Shocker. So specifically with Microsoft, what was noted was the really shitty requirement that every game has to be able to run on both the Series S and the Series X. When the Series S is literally just like a half step better than old-gen consoles. And I think Larian actually was one of the few studios that actually got special permission because they could not figure out a way to get it to run on the Series S at the kind of settings that they had, which is actually kind of funny because the Series S port is almost similar if not like identical to the port that exists on Mac, where it is like a lowered graphical settings. It's like a little bit lowered on like polygon counts, stuff like that. But specifically, Larian actually pointed out that with Steam, it feels a lot more democratic is the term that they used. It feels like it's more accessible to more people. And they also feel like it allows independent studios to actually make a cut and actually make their own money, even if they put their games on discounts. Because I was not aware how much of a cut Sony takes and how much of a cut Xbox takes.
Oh, yeah, I don't know anything about that, but I'm sure it's pretty hefty.
It's fucking substantial. And the other issue specifically with Xbox is that they've tried so hard and that they're focusing so much on the subscription-based service that most games feel like it's actually it's not making financial sense for them to even list their games, because it loses them so much money just for them to go to the subscription model when they could be making those sales over on like things like Steam. I think I've only seen, specifically Baldur's Gate 3, I think I've only seen go on sale like maybe 2 or 3 times in the entire time that the game has been out. And yet it is still one of the most purchased games and one of the most actively played games. And again, it just all feeds back into that narrative that we've already repeated ourselves over and over again on. When something is made with love and when you can tell that they actually put effort and like soul behind the project, I will spend hundreds of dollars on it, but maybe not like a Ubisoft game where I don't know. But I mean, I
that just I just with I don't know. It's just weird because like you said, there's these games that like you can tell people put a lot of effort into, and then there's these giant AAA titles that are just being pushed out for money with these nice, fancy, cool little trailers, and then you have to wait a year for it to even be like worth playing.
Or what's happening in the trailer literally does not happen at all in the game.
Yeah,
like in Starfield.
Yeah,
Starfield. That one was
game
also crazy.
Hyped up so much, and just that's why I liked. Like I watched the Game Awards, and like seeing them win nothing, not a damn thing. I was like, that's what you fucking get.
And you know that they acted like little bitch boys too. You know, behind the scenes they're like, But again, it's just like, dude, just maybe put some fucking effort behind it. Like specifically with Starfield, maybe don't try and run it off of like a engine that's like literally 20 years old. Maybe that would help a lot. But and actually, you know what, Pluto, you're 100% right. If buying isn't owning, because that's what Ubisoft and that's what specifically Microsoft has fought heavily in court battles, then pirating isn't actually stealing, because you're just looking up a license, you're just using a license. But specifically Steam, that's the big point that they wanted to bring out as well. Steam actually has a little bit of a different philosophy on that. You know, Steam was created as a way to have a digital database for all of your games and for you to be able to enjoy any game from any device that you ever want to, instead of having it locked to a console or anything like that. And something that all right, we're gonna go ahead and ban you. We're not doing those types of those solicitations. Sorry, bud. Anyways, so specifically with that, you know, it's one of those things where all right, whatever. Anyways, that really threw me off. My apologies, everybody.
I don't even know what happened, but
somebody did one of those like viewer count name drop things in there.
I don't know what that is. Okay.
I'm sorry. Anyways, so specifically with God fucking damn it, that really threw me off. Specifically with Steam, sorry, their big philosophy and what they've been pushing and what they've been a massive advocate for is actually for game preservation, which is what's going to kind of lead us into our final topic of the day. So they have a really heavy philosophy that when you own a game, you do actually own the game. They don't subscribe to the same philosophy that, you know, Ubisoft and Microsoft have both put out, where it's just a license and they can take it back at any time. You know, Steam has actually been, surprisingly, because they have had issues with this in the past, but they've actually been one of the largest proponents and the loudest voices against that. And something that is very, very interesting is seeing the discussion now surrounding game preservation in the same way that other media is preserved when it comes to films, when it comes to music, that because this is still an art form, and especially because this is a medium that people consume, that there is an ethical, almost an ethical and moral requirement behind keeping these games preserved in some capacity. We talked about it a little bit last week. But, you know, for those of you guys who maybe didn't listen to last week's episode, one of the things that's coming up a lot is specifically Ubisoft right now is the worst offender of this. But what they're doing is they're completely taking away those old games, making them 100% unplayable. Not just taking like the online servers, offline, whatever the case may be, but making games 100% just straight up just unplayable in any capacity. And in my opinion, I feel like that's ethically wrong for a company to sell you a product. And on some of these, when it comes to products that they've sold you over the years with like DLCs and everything, and then just to yeet that back away because they don't want to support that game anymore. When there should be this mechanism where maybe it gets handed off from the people to like modders or to a specific community. I can't remember what the exact game is. I'll try to overlay it whenever I do the VOD. But there was a game that it was made by an indie studio, and they said, we can't support this anymore. We want to be able to move on to our next project. And what they actually did is they had reached out to the biggest part of their modding community, and they kind of put it out just in general and saying, community members, if you guys want to continue this game, if you guys want to keep this game online, and if you guys want to keep this experience, let us know, and we can work out a plan to try and hand it over to you guys, so that way it can kind of become a community-ran game. Because there's a few games out there like that. I think Star Wars Galaxy was one where it was ran by the community a few years after it got discontinued by BioWare. And I think that's just... I feel like that's the way it should be, right? Because I know that it's software at the end of the day. And I know just like, Microsoft, Windows, whatever the case may be, like there's things that can make you lose access to it, or there's things that would make it no longer compatible. But the problem is that all of the laws and all the rules surrounding it are treating it like it is Microsoft Windows, to where it becomes a security risk. But it's not really a security risk for a game to go offline and for you just to be able to enjoy it. It's very weird. It's just very weird to me that this is like where we're at now, where you could own something and spend so much money on something and then just have it completely taken away from you because a game studio just doesn't want to deal with it anymore.
That's just odd. Like, I know with the NBA 2K basketball games, like after a while they'll shut down the online servers and stuff, but like the games are still playable. So I honestly don't know a whole lot about this other than like there's been a lot of debate about, do I own this or do I not? And it's like, if I'm paying $70 for something, how the fuck do I not own it?
Exactly.
I worked my ass off to get a good paycheck to buy this game that probably doesn't work because it's made by as a AAA title, but it's mine. I bought it. Like,
and I think
that doesn't
that's
make
what makes
any sense to me.
And that's what makes both of us kind of nervous about Outlaws, right? Because Ubisoft's president has straight up just said, you should get comfortable not owning games. like it just makes me worried because I'm like, no, I'm not going to go drop, in that case, $120 or $130.
Yeah. And them dropping, hey, get this, and then this is back behind a paywall, and it's like, bro, you are not, like, I love Star Wars, and I don't even know that I even want the game anymore, other than for us to, kind of talk about it, but it worries me a lot that they're doing this.
It almost feels like it's a tactic, though, to make you do the subscription service, right? Because that becomes the financially that becomes the smarter option to do it. Because that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I don't really want to drop $130 to get the Ultimate Edition, but I'll pay $18 to play it for 1 month. And if it's good enough, then maybe I'll buy it. But it's almost like it's a tactic intentionally meant to do that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's almost like they're intentionally pricing it to where you are obviously going to go with a subscription service where you're not at all in ownership of the game at that point.
Yeah, I don't know if the solution to that is to just buy the physical copy or whatever, but
the physical copy still doesn't even work either. The Dirt is a good example of that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like that's part of the issue too, is that Ubisoft is, even physical game copies, they're still completely unplayable, and they're just taking them off of the store, completely removing them from your library. I think even Sony did that with a few of like their 100% offline games. Even Sony has removed it from people's PlayStations. So it just, especially whenever you play as much as you do, like there was one guy that I saw a thread on Twitter where he had dedicated like over 6,000 hours to this game across like 10, 15 years. All of that's gone, just 100% gone, because PlayStation removed it from the store and PlayStation removed it from his library, to where it was downloaded to his console, but he couldn't even open it up.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be a thing.
It shouldn't be a thing at all.
Absolutely not be a thing.
Watch, they're going to start making like subscription-based car services.
There's these head honchos in you know, these meeting rooms, and it's like, this seems like a good idea. Why?
Because it's money.
Like,
because it's the new frontier for them to make money off of us. Because they know gamers are going to game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's just, I don't know. That's what it switches to. I don't even know how to feel about gaming in the future. Like, that's odd. I don't like it.
Hey man, I'm the liberal socialist of the group, but like, you know how I already feel about capitalism, but I mean, it just feels like every aspect of our lives right now is just completely being taken for granted, and we're just viewed as like a money machine when, like, I know a lot of people can barely afford to pay rent, you know, like it feels like time after time, especially with games, like you just said, imagine going out and working really hard and spending all this money on getting this game and then it just being a complete fucking flop. Like, thank God, whenever I played Starfield, it was all under the Game Pass, right? Because then I would have been out $100 for the Ultimate Edition. I don't know. I think the last thing we can talk about is TikTok is banned, quote unquote. Have you kept up with any of that?
Worked for me this morning.
Yeah, well, yeah. So they've been given a year for ByteDance to sell it off to a U.S. controlled group, is what supposedly is going to happen. I mean, this is going to get held up in court, and it's just not going to happen. It's not going away. It's too big to fail. It's too big to disappear. But the biggest reason supposedly the government did it was just because of security concerns. And then also because they said that TikTok was content moderating whenever it came to like the Chinese government. But I mean, to be frank, I feel like every social media works for the government. Oh, yes. Sorry. Like Pluto said, divest or ban. So either, you know, take yourself away from ByteDance or you're no longer going to be allowed here, which again is just really weird because there's so much content. I think they said that like 50% of TikTok's user base or 50% of the content being created on TikTok is from US content creators. And so, you know, that would be a massive thing for them. But at the same time, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for them to then create like a whole different TikTok, which is kind of sounding like what they're wanting it to be, because you can't create a TikTok that's like separate, but not separate. It's all really, really confusing. And even then I cannot have anybody actually explain it to me in a way that makes sense for them to actually have like legitimate grounds to ban that versus like any of the other social media apps that exist.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard, I mean, I've seen some of the questions they're asking the creator or owner or whatever during these hearings, and it's just like, can TikTok hack my Wi-Fi? And he's like, no.
Or the number of times that they kept calling him Chinese and he just kept saying over and again, I'm Singaporean. And they didn't understand like that one, I think it was Manchin, did not understand the concept that somebody from Singapore is not somebody who's from China. Like, it's just, it's hard not to look at it and just say that this is 100% just xenophobia.
It's a joke. It's a fucking joke.
But I mean, it is like, frustrating because it's just riling people up. You know what I mean?
I just wish they would like share more about what their concerns are, because it doesn't make sense to me, really. If there are like security concerns, like what the fuck are they?
Yeah,
you know, because it I don't know. And I know I've seen a lot of people like at the end of their videos are like, if TikTok dies, you know, I'm on YouTube too. And
yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just odd.
It's just weird.
I mean, we don't really post on there too often, but like,
no.
But
I don't see the reason.
I've seen a lot of cool stuff on there, but
yeah.
I
wish the people
of all the things our government could be worrying about,
I know.
TikTok isn't fucking one of them.
Well, and specifically with like user data, I mean, Facebook has gotten away with a lot of really shitty stuff. I mean, they straight up sold our data, like straight up sold user data to foreign governments. They got a massive ban for it, or not ban, sorry, a massive fine for it. But that's okay. Like, there's no actual evidence that,
and that's
that
a US based company. So
yeah, well, there's no like legit evidence that TikTok is doing anything with this data. It's just the fear that they might, because it is part of the rules that if a CCP or a country that's, or sorry, A company that's operated out of China does potentially have to turn over any user information that the CCP does request out of them. That's pretty much all it is. It's a might. There's no actual happens, but there's absolutely shit that Facebook has gotten caught over and over again doing with our data. So it feels very weird. It's hard not to look at it and just say, oh, well, it is just xenophobia. But all right, guys, we got to wrap up. This was a little bit longer than I intended. I've got some stuff to cut out in the VOD. For everybody who's watching us on this thing, Twitch, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And I don't know what else we're supposed to say when it comes to Twitch. But if you're watching this now on YouTube, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button and like this video. And also leave us a comment down below. That really helps us actually be seen by the algorithm. We have a Patreon now.
Overload.
We do have a Patreon. It's only $4.99 a month. We only have one tier right now, but it gets you special Discord status. We will eventually, once we actually get some subscribers, we'll try to eventually do like a sub-only kind of like watch party or like hangout night. You also get to see the scripts that Kyle and I work off of. You get to see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. I'll do like little clips of some of the stuff that I work on when it comes to the, editing everything. I feel like there's some other stuff too that I'm probably forgetting. I should have written all down. There's other stuff.
Oh, there's some cool stuff.
We're not big enough on YouTube yet to do YouTube-based subscriptions, but once we do, we'll obviously announce that. I know that it gets a little bit hard to juggle everyone's subscriptions, so, if you're not super comfortable doing it on Patreon, if you do want to wait a little bit longer, we will eventually get to the point where we could do so on YouTube as well. And every bit of money that we make off of that does not go into Kyle and I's pocket. It goes 100% back into the podcast, whether it be different editing softwares, music, whether it be merch, whatever the case may be. I would say I'll see you guys in a little bit, but I'll see you guys in just a few minutes for us to do our gaming stream of our group playthrough of Baldur's Gate.
And I won't.
Kyle will not be there, just because cross-save is not a thing yet. But yeah. Kyle, do you have anything else that you want to say before we dip out?
Yeah, just thanks for joining us for the very first live episode of NerdPod. Hopefully we can keep continuing to do these. Hop on the Patreon if you're comfortable doing that. Enjoy Fallout.
Yeah, enjoy Fallout. Well, as always, everybody, if nobody else tells you this week, just know that you are very important and that you matter to us, and we love the shit out of you. And as always, trust only in the pod.